they were talking about how love can't be forced. And the crazy thing is that the more you try to command it or demand it, the less likely you are to get it. That's certainly true in relationships, but it's also true in a lot of other aspects of our life as well. Situations where we start to be frustrated because we feel like we're not getting something that we want or something that we deserve. And then we become agitated and we want other people to do something about it. We say, well, I'm not being treated right, so what's the solution? Who's going to make people treat me the way I want to be treated? Who's going to validate me? And the more you do that, the more likely you are to hit a wall, and then people shut down. You know, I had someone come to me today at work, and the fellow was having some problems with other employees that he was working with. It wasn't anything serious. It wasn't anything particularly significant. It was just the normal small slings and arrows and personality differences that come with groups of people working together. That's really all it was. And, you know, he kind of had this attitude of, well, something needs to be done about people who are disrespecting me. You know, and I totally get that if somebody does something extreme, then yes, we have to do something about that. But in this case, it wasn't anything extreme. The other people didn't really do anything to him. They didn't do anything wrong. It's just he kind of had the vibe that they didn't like him and they were, you know, not being very friendly. Well, not being very friendly isn't really a crime. But if you go out there and you find people who are allegedly not being very friendly and you threaten them and you say, you're going to have to get along better, you're going to have to be more friendly, you're going to have to be more accommodating, and if you aren't, then maybe you're going to be in trouble. Is that going to create more or less friction? Well, you know, even if you know you're wrong, if somebody comes to you and they say, you have to change, and if you don't change, I'm going to do something bad to you to punish you for that, well, then you're just that much less interested in making personal change. Then you're going to say, well, even if you're right, I don't really want to listen to you because I don't want to change my behavior under threat. I want to have agency. So it's just important to understand that a frictionless experience is an important part of success in life. And certainly you'll find a lot of people who wind up being successful in life, they usually find a way to create a frictionless experience. They get along with people. Maybe people that they don't like, maybe people who don't like them, but they figure it out. They get along with people. They don't have a lot of issues because they pick their battles and they find a way to be a peacemaker in any situation. And a good example of what I'm talking about is, let's say you're driving down the road, you get into a car accident, and it's not your fault, it's somebody else's fault. Well, maybe they pulled out in front of you or whatever it might be. The truth of the matter is, in most situations, if you were more vigilant, if you were driving more defensively, if you were more aware of your surroundings, well, you could have avoided being in a situation where you were going to be in an accident. Even if the accident wasn't really your fault per se, you still had a part to play in it because you could have avoided the situation. But for whatever reason, you didn't avoid that situation. And does it really matter at the end of the day whose fault it is? It really doesn't matter, because the damage is done. Yeah, maybe it matters in the sense that the other person's insurance is going to cover it, but it doesn't materially change the fact that the car is damaged, your day is negatively impacted. What you're able to do is put on hold because now you have to deal with being in a traffic accident, right? So it doesn't really matter who's to blame, who's guilty or not, in the sense that when something tragic happens, you have to deal with it. And that negatively impacts everyone involved. So it's better to figure out how to avoid problems, even if that means you have to kind of build the bridge more than 50% across the river. Sometimes that's just how it works. Sometimes maybe you apologize to somebody because you hurt their feelings, and it's not because you really believe that you were wrong. It's just because that's the best way to go. You know, it's the easiest way to make peace and to not make a mountain out of a molehill. Move on with your day, and everyone can just be happy, and it's not a big deal. Or you can stand your ground over all the little things. Every time somebody shit talks you or throws some slings and arrows your way, you can take it personally. And then every single day, all the time, you're going to have some kind of drama, some kind of a thing that's going on with somebody, something that's eating at you, and that's just, it's not really worth it, right? If I was gonna accept that my life is over tomorrow, what would I do differently? I think I would forgive everybody, first of all. And that doesn't mean that I would reconcile with everybody, because you can forgive people as much as you want. That doesn't mean that they're going to be in your life. It doesn't mean that they're going to forgive you back. It doesn't mean that they're going to see things the way you do. Forgiveness isn't something that makes you have a whole lot in common with other people. It doesn't fix past wrongs or damages or anything like that. But forgiveness absolves you spiritually so that you can be at peace. That's really what it is. And so if I wasn't going to be around tomorrow, I'd make a point to say that everybody is forgiven, and I choose to have empathy for everyone and forgive them and forgive myself, and that's a good attitude to have, even if you're not going to be gone tomorrow. Maybe you have a while, but it still makes a lot of sense to forgive everybody and try to see things from their perspective, because quite often when you think that somebody's out to get you, somebody's trying to be your enemy, really it's cultural differences, it's life perspective differences. There's a lot of reasons why people do the things they do, and very seldom is that really because they have a true vendetta against you. Usually it's just people trying to make their way in the world, and because we all go through life from different perspectives, we struggle to be on the same page. That's just how it is. And I think if I figured I didn't have much time left to live, I'd also make a point to enjoy my life. And you can't really focus on enjoying your life when you're too busy focused on having grievances against other people. I saw this YouTube video of, it was a skit, but it was a guy goes into the car dealership and they say, like the part isn't ready or something like that. And as it goes, there's a rich guy and a poor guy pretending to be rich. And the video is contrasting the difference between these. And it showed, well, the rich guy, the truly wealthy guy, was just super chill. Maybe the dealership didn't have what he needed, or there was an extra fee or a charge or an extra weight or something, and he was just fine with it. It's like, okay, sounds good, you know. But then the guy who's not rich, but he's pretending to be rich, the same guy, you know, he'll be the one that's going to be that irate customer that's saying, you know, how dare you? I'm a paying customer. Do you know how much money I've spent here? How dare you provide bad service, right? Like it's not like the person who's out there raging about how they're too important to be inconvenienced. That's probably the person that's not very important, and they're not very self-confident, and they're actually not doing very well at all. Whereas the people who really are comfortable, well, if you're comfortable, then you really aren't going to be threatened, even if somebody insignificant does choose to threaten you. Like, does it matter? You know, if you're a billionaire and somebody comes along and says that you're poor, well, that's fine. That's good. Then they'll think you're poor. You have your $1 billion in the bank, or in your investment vehicles, or wherever, right? So if you're king of the world, you don't really need to prove it to anybody. You just are, and you mind your business and you do your thing. And you know, people who are actually in a good place in their lives, they usually are pretty low key because they have nothing to prove. When you're holding all the cards, you don't really need to show them off to everybody. You just hold them, and you know what you've got in your pocket, and no one else needs to know. In fact, you probably don't even really want other people to know. And you know, that leads me to another thing I was thinking about today, and that is how we should be private about the way we conduct our business. And I think it's so easy to be in a culture of wanting to share things with people. We always want to share things with somebody. We want to tell people what we're doing, and other people act like they show interest and they care what we're doing, so we want to share. And it feels like there's a social reward for sharing what you're doing, what's going on in your life, you know, what you're investing in, what your plans are, all that kind of stuff. But the reality is, the more you share with other people what you're doing, the more likely you are to be doing what you're doing on a basis of what other people think. You're more likely to be influenced or manipulated, and you're less likely to just make decisions based on what you feel to be right. And so I think that's another good reason for cutting out things like social media. It's a good reason for going silent with maybe your friends and contacts, and just starting to have this policy. You know, if I'm investing money in the stock market, I don't need to go tell everybody what I'm buying. I don't need to tell people how my portfolio is doing. It's fine. Just you know, you're off by yourself. You're grinding. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and that's your business. And when you have a life that's private, then you can really stop and say, well, what do I think I ought to do? And then you do that. And you don't have anybody there to say, yeah, but here's all the reasons why you maybe are wrong. Here's all the reasons why you should do this other thing instead. You don't have people saying, yeah, but you know, you're not doing as well as I'm doing. And the real barometer of success should always be you trying to outperform your own results. Your portfolio should look better than your portfolio looked before. Your success should be greater today than your success was last month or last year. And when you compare yourself to yourself, well, then you can be competitive, and you can also be humble. Because you're not looking at somebody else and then saying, oh, well, you know, if I can do better than that other person, then I can brag about it. you're not feeling bad because even though you're doing well, you're growing, you're advancing yourself, you're still not able to trump somebody else's results, and so you feel inferior. You start to have that attitude. Well, like if my friends are millionaires and I only have $100, and I guess it doesn't matter what I do with that $100 because it's a lost cause anyway. And that's the kind of an attitude which will lead you to be potentially maybe a toxic person on some level, or it'll just dampen your potential for success, because you'll be so busy thinking about being judged by other people, or feeling inferior, or feeling like you don't have enough tools in your tool chest to really do anything meaningful. You just be like the guy in the Bible where the master of the house gave 3 servants some money, like he gives one person $3 and one person 10 and one person 20 or something like that, and then he comes back and the 2 that had been given more, they doubled their money. But the guy that just had a few coins, he didn't have very much, he wasn't given very much. Well, that guy said, well, I just buried it because you didn't give me very much to be a steward of, and I didn't figure I'd really be able to do anything with that, so I just buried it in the yard. And the master says, you get out of here. I want nothing to do with you, because those who are faithful with a little, to them I'll give a lot. But to people who are bad stewards of the little that they have, well, even that little that they have will be taken away. So learn to be a good steward of your life, and focus on being true to yourself. But the best way to do that often is to really kind of go dark, go silent. Stop telling other people what you're doing all the time. Stop looking at social media all the time. Stop thinking about all those things that want to manipulate you and tell you what you should think and help you form an opinion. Just make decisions that you believe in. And when you look at something and you think, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. That seems like the truth. When you feel like it's true, when you feel like you've reached a conclusion based on your own best judgment, then trust your heart. Follow a path that you believe in, and maybe you'll lose sometimes. That's totally true, totally fair. But even if you do lose, at least you lose knowing that it was an honest college try. You did the best you knew how to do, and that means a lot, because then maybe you don't win every battle, but at least you can sleep at night knowing that you didn't sacrifice your integrity just so that you could follow the crowd. People who get along with others, people who take responsibility for their lives and are not afraid to go the other way and ignore conventional wisdom, those people tend to be more likely to be successful financially, maybe successful in relationships potentially, but definitely successful in terms of being the kind of people who are respected or trusted. And that's a really important thing. It's high praise to be a person who is seen as having integrity, and you want to have integrity because that's a rare thing in life. So always try to choose your own path. Don't let other people write your story for you. Pick your battles. Don't be a person who's always worried about the little things so much that you miss the big ones. And the big things in life, it's learning how to forgive others, learning how to have empathy for others, and learning how to live every day with a sense of peace, knowing that you really don't have anything that you need to prove to others or to the world. As always, good luck on your adventure. Till next time, thanks for watching.